For the longest, for some reason, I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I know me and you have talked about it before. I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the show. I feel like it might have been when we were doing that little those 2-part episodes with Kevin Bacon.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we might have talked about that. We might have talked about this movie before, but for some reason, I just always felt like we had already done it. And I know, I kept on asking you. I think I've asked you multiple times if we'd done this movie before, because I just didn't believe you. But I mean, this movie is amazing. For one, the director's name is James, so that's already starting off on a positive note. Yeah, it's almost my last name too. So I mean, it's W-A. It's almost there. We kind of look the same too. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I really thought this. To me, I think this is probably one of, even though it's kind of critically and financially not a success for Kevin Bacon, I think this might be, for at least, one of his better movies, at least in the top maybe 3 that I've seen of him. I like Stir of Echoes also,
of course,
but this one definitely holds a place up there in the top for him. But I don't know. I just the way this movie was shot, and it was really the colors felt like saturated or something. I don't know how the way this was shot was really cool. Just the colors and the tone of it. And then, just I talked about it before, or I talked about it with you, Wes, mentioning how he geniusly kind of gets you emotionally attached and involved into the family dynamic without having to waste time on kind of getting you into the family, because through the opening credits, they're playing these videos, like recordings of birthdays and ceremonies and whatnot from the family. So you kind of you're like, oh, okay, it's a family movie. Like, these guys are, he's a dad who loves his family, and you kind of get emotionally attached to that way. And then they kind of, I think maybe 5 minutes in, the son, he gets killed. And so that's kind of, you're already attached for just watching the opening credits. And I think that was genius on his part. Definitely.
Because I feel like with something like that, you usually have a movie pander and try to have you grow with the family before something happens. So it's like you get almost halfway into the film before something goes down. And in this one, he really just rolls right into it and kind of gets you attached quick, and then snatches this character away from you.
Yeah. You thought like maybe they would have shown some more scenes with the family being all nice,
right?
But it definitely didn't go that route.
Not at all.
But
yeah,
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I thought it was genius that he put that in there, because it's that's a reality punch to the gut, because that's how instantaneous tragedy can happen. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you feel it for him.
Oh yeah.
But go back, finish your thought, sir.
No, I was just gonna say that. I mean, I definitely enjoy this movie. I think this, for me, it doesn't get old watching it, and I haven't seen it too many times. I think maybe 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
This might have been my 4th time, but it's definitely a movie where I can watch it again. I'll watch it again in a year or so, and still it holds. It's still effective in affecting your emotions and stuff like that, and pulling on those heartstrings, when you're in the beginning of the movie. But and then also the revenge part of the film is kind of gratifying, and you get to see that descent, how Wes so brilliantly put it, kind of going into that madness and that revenge kind of, and I don't know, just the whole movie in a whole was just great to me.
Yeah, I don't know why it deserves that 21. Good vengeance movie. Good vengeance movie. Maybe people didn't get that. maybe it's in the vein of Running Scared. I don't know, because that came out 1 year earlier, but this movie had been in production before, like, you know, so who knows? Maybe in people's minds it's in the vein of Running Scared. I thought this movie was pretty good. Like you said, it has the grainy feel, which I think is really excellent to use.
Yeah.
For such a gritty movie. It doesn't make it look perfect. Like, the action scenes like look so real that they were funny to me. You know what I mean? Like, they were real. He was actually like he fell and shit. Like, I was watching the movie, and it's really well acted too. Like, what else can I say? Like, fucking, like, I don't know why, because this is the second movie I saw today researching that James Wan has 20% on his movies, and the other one was Dead Silence. So I'm like, dude, and I love Dead Silence. Yeah. And I'm just like, what the fuck's going out there, dude, with the critics? Yeah, but this movie's excellent, dude. Like, it definitely, it's perfect. Like, there's nothing wrong about it. There's nothing that like gets left out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe like what you should talk about, like, is where the cops weren't like super helpful in this movie. So
no, not at all, dude.
Yeah, they're kind of, and then especially his legal team, who was trying to get the guy convicted, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get them shaking it. You know, they're gonna be pissing their pants and begging for a deal, and then we're gonna get them for 1 to 3 years."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "What?" He's
like, "That's the best you're gonna get."
And he's like, "Yeah, we can."
Yeah,
the reason was, I heard somehow the machete was gone. They couldn't find what stabbed the kid. I think the brother covered it up for his younger brother. And
there was no evidence, like video evidence either. There was no camera,
no surveillance in that store.
I like the lawyer's like, you picked the one store out of all of America that didn't have any security cameras.
I know, and the tremendous amount of bad luck on that guy, dude. Like, all of a sudden, like, Nick Hume just got some bad luck, dude. Like, his life was going great, and I just don't like the turn, like you said, Wes, that tragic turn, that point of no return, like, you know. So
it can just happen at any moment.
I think this is something that probably you overlook in the film, but I think it plays on the urban legend a little bit, because Nicholas, when they're driving towards
flashing the headlights,
before he's about to get gas, the Darley was Billy Darley and his the two muscle cars, they drive by and without their lights on, and Nicholas says like, oh, their lights are off, and you're supposed to flash your lights in order to tell the other driver, hey, your lights are off. But the urban legend goes, like, when someone does that, then the other driver is going to turn around and come to kill you, and that's kind of what happens. It's almost like they were waiting for somebody to signal them, and then they told the brother, all right, that's your target, we're gonna come back, and that's going to be your initiation. You know what I mean? So it was like premeditated, but they don't really go into that. It's very like fast paced, where you wouldn't even think about that. You know what I mean?
Like, if we see your victim, like, the first thing we see is going to be your victim. Like, because in the movie, he says that I'm the one that hands the death sentence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Darley boys. Billy. I'm the one. Like, he's the Reaper. And there's obvious signs of, like, muerto, like, stuff in the movie, like death.
Yeah, like, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I love that the gang members were like multiracial. Like, that was dope.
It would have been boring if they were all one thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bunch of skinheads.
Yeah.
Diego, you've been really quiet. What'd you think of the film, dude?
I thought this movie was. So before I even rented this movie, I was beginning to see the trailer, and I saw the son getting his throat cut, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna walk away real quick. And so I was like, I didn't watch the whole, but I expected that way to start. So when you're saying like, oh yeah, like the trailer kind of ruined it for it's like literally says the whole story in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I literally just like figured that out like real quick. I was like, oh, I'm gonna leave. I'm before the movie starts and shit. And so I was like, oh, okay. So watching this movie, I really like I was just constantly remembering what James would message me the other day after the show. It was like, oh, like, are you ready to see Death Sentence? And I was like, oh, I've never seen the movie. Like, we were talking about it. Just don't spoil it, dude. If I feel it's going to be a really good movie. And I was just like, the first thing I remember is, like, Kevin Bacon's, like acting is so fucking good in this movie. Like, I was like, oh, is this the same guy from I remember from, like, Footloose and stuff like that. Like, this guy's fucking good. This guy's like so good, and it's just like one of those things where like I love Kevin Bacon and like his older roles now. Like it's funny, dude. Like there's people that like I love in their now that they're older and they're mature. Like I love them in certain roles, you know. And he's one of them, and I can't believe I missed this movie. Not seeing it in theaters, dude, because I definitely would have gone and seen it. These are like what I was into at those like that time, dude. Like suspenseful thrillers and stuff.
Yeah, that was the year we graduated, correct? 07.
Yeah. So like it was like it was like kind of like, oh man, like dude, I wish, like my whole brain was just like, I wish I would have seen this in the movie theater. But it's an overall good story, man. I love the fact that John Goodman's in this. Like his stuff was like really good.
Fuck yeah.
And
yeah.
and it's funny because like I think it's just under the radar, but like I love the fact that like it might not. It wasn't like, you know, it shows the both spectrums of like what a father is, you know, because you know when he talks to Nick. I forget John Goodman's name in this.
Bone Darley.
And he like when he's like buying the guns from him, he's like, oh, like I know you're gonna go find my boy Billy, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I know you're gonna go find Billy. That's my boy. And he's like, and you killed my youngest. And he's like, but he has to pay. He has to pay for what he's done. And blah, blah, like, if you kill him, just don't tell me how you kill him. Just as long as you do it or whatever. And I was just like, oh my God. And you got kept, like, fucking just, like, straight fucking killing everybody that killed his son and his,
about to say he
and his wife.
Magically turned to John Wick, dude. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, dude. Like this is they show you both spectrums of, like, of what a dirtbag of a father this guy is, and then what a dad what somebody would do and sacrifice for another human being that
for their child.
Yeah. And so it was just like, oh, that I kind of was like, oh, that's cool that they included that in there, you know.
Yeah.
And
it's deep.
I just love it. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say this is deep. That's deeply layered. There's a lot of stuff going on that I felt like got overlooked. You know? Yeah.
And I was like,
basically the oxymoron of it's like the Run All Night where a father is gonna kill a son. You know what I mean? All that stuff again. But this was before that, so that goes to show like people like movies like that, but we'll give a 21% to a movie like this. Like that's just like you said, it's overlooked very badly.
Yeah.
Well put.
I love the fact that that when he goes back, when he's like he kind of like fears for like what's was gonna happen. But he like reacts like what a regular person would have done, is like call the cops. And these guys are like so ruthless. I remember like the scene where his wife gets killed. I was like so pissed. I was like, please don't end it like this. I was like, I'm gonna fucking text James right now. This is how it ends. This is like, I was like, oh man. But the fact that like the way they ended this movie, I was like, oh, this is perfect, dude.
Not